Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into something pretty interesting, I think. Decluttering.
Decluttering.
It's not just like tidying up, but we're really looking at like how clearing your space can actually lead to personal growth and change.
Yeah. It's amazing how much our physical spaces can really impact our mental and emotional states.
Totally.
You know, just think about when you're in a really chaotic environment, it's hard to feel calm. It's hard to feel focused.
Absolutely.
And it's just kind of...
So we found this source called Declutter Your Home, Transform Your Life. And it kind of takes this concept even further. One of the things that really kind of stood out to me was this idea that even our clothes can hold like energy from the past.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, have you ever had that?
Think about it. Have you ever like had a dress or an outfit that you wore to like a really difficult event?
Yeah.
And then every time you see it, you kind of get that like twinge of that old feeling, you know?
Right.
Maybe it's time to let go of the dress A&D, the energy.
Totally. Like, it's almost like you're wearing that. That energy again.
It is. It's like you're reliving it.
Yeah. And what else are we holding on to, right?
Oh, God, yeah.
Like the source even talks about broken items like, you know, that chipped mug that you just can't seem to part with.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Those items, sometimes I think we keep them because we're avoiding dealing with the emotions that they represent.
Okay.
And, you know, like the article says, sometimes you just got to deal with the mud, even if you prayed for the rain.
Oh, I love that.
You know, it's like that Denzel Washington quote.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that really applies here.
That's a great point.
It's about facing those little broken things. And it helps you face bigger issues, too.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it's not even just about like negative energy either, right? What about like the clothes?
Oh, yeah.
From a time where you just saw yourself differently?
If you wouldn't buy that item today, it might be a sign that like you've outgrown it.
Okay.
You've changed.
Yeah.
Holding on to it could be holding you back from fully embracing who you are now.
Wow, that's powerful.
You know, it's like you're trying to fit back into an old shell.
Yeah, you know, and something that I always struggle with is letting go of things from people who are no longer in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Like that to me feels so much harder than just donating an old sweater.
Absolutely. It comes with those memories, those emotions.
Yeah.
But I think the key here is asking yourself, are these memories serving me?
Right.
Or are they keeping me stuck?
Okay.
It's really about finding that balance between honoring the past and creating space for those new relationships and experiences.
That's a great point. And there's also this interesting point about shoes.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently they can symbolize like our direction in life.
Interesting.
Yeah. So holding on to those worn out shoes might mean you're clinging to a path that you don't want to be on anymore.
It's like that saying, you can't start the next chapter of your life if you keep rereading the last one.
Wow.
You know, those old shoes might be comfy.
Right.
But maybe it's time for a new pair that takes you somewhere exciting.
Yes. Okay. Now, this is one that I never even considered. Empty hangers.
Okay.
And unused hooks.
Interesting.
The source is suggesting that this represents
untapped potential.
Untapped potential.
Yeah.
I never thought about it that way.
I think about it as like those nagging feelings of I should be doing more or I haven't started yet, you know? And I feel like those empty spaces can be a visual reminder of what we're not doing, you know? And filling them up with action just feels so much better.
So are we saying like every empty hook needs to be filled?
I wouldn't go that far. I think it's more about being mindful.
Okay.
You know, ask yourself, is this empty space truly peaceful? Or is it making me feel like I'm waiting for something to happen?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's about being intentional with our space.
Exactly.
Not just filling it up for the sake of it.
Right.
Okay, now speaking of small details.
Okay.
This next one might seem a little strange.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
The article talks about mismatched socks.
Okay.
And worn out underwear.
I'm listening.
Okay. This is where I need you to explain things because that sounds kind of random to me.
Think about it, though, when you start your day with a really frustrating experience.
Okay.
Like looking for matching socks, you know?
Right.
It can really impact your mood.
Yeah.
It's like starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that those comfy, holy socks, maybe it's time for an upgrade.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess it's like those little moments of like friction in your day that add up over time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe those worn out undies are more about like how we treat ourselves than like what other people Yeah. It is about, reminding yourself that self-care is about respecting yourself.
Yeah.
Even in the smallest, most private ways.
I love that.
Yeah.
So new socks and underwear for everyone.
Not necessarily, but it is about awareness.
Okay.
Ask yourself, am I taking care of myself?
Yeah.
Even in those little things?
Right.
And maybe it's time to let go of what's not serving you anymore.
That's a great point. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, this next topic makes me a little superstitious. Broken or damaged mirrors.
Oh.
But the source is connecting them to a distorted self-image, which is really fascinating to me.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're constantly looking at a fragmented reflection, it can be like this metaphor for how you see yourself.
Right.
And maybe replacing that broken mirror with a new one is kind of like choosing to see yourself.
Wow.
With clarity and with kindness.
I think that's a really powerful image.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
What we surround ourselves with really can have a bigger impact than we realize.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of things that can feel overwhelming,
yes,
let's talk about clutter.
Oh.
It's more than just a messy house. It can really weigh on your mind and emotions.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
The source talks about clutter keeping us stuck in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Overwhelmed in the present.
Yeah.
And uncertain about the future.
It's almost like our physical space becomes like a reflection of our internal state.
Oh, wow.
And when our internal state is just cluttered with all these anxieties and unfinished business,
right,
it just kind of spills out into our environment. You know, it's hard to feel peaceful when you're in a chaotic environment.
So how do we even tackle that?
I know, right?
Because I feel like a lot of people feel paralyzed by the idea of decluttering.
The key is to start small. Just pick one drawer, one shelf, one corner of a room, and just ask yourself, does this item bring me joy?
Okay.
Does it have a purpose?
Right.
Does it add value to my life?
Yeah.
And if not, maybe it's time to let it go.
But a lot of people get stuck on that idea of value.
I know, right?
I hear you.
What if something is valuable, but I just don't like it?
Well, then that's where we get into the tricky topic of gifts we don't like but feel guilty about getting rid of.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well, like that vase from Aunt Susan that clashes with everything, but you feel terrible about donating it.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but think about it this way. The intention behind the gift was to bring you joy.
Yeah.
And holding on to something out of obligation isn't really fulfilling that intention.
So how do we let go of that guilt?
It's all about shifting your perspective.
Okay.
The true gift is the thoughtfulness behind it.
Right.
And if the item itself isn't bringing you joy, it's okay to let it go with gratitude and just make space for things you truly love.
Maybe Aunt Susan would understand.
Maybe so.
Yeah. And that letting go applies to more than just like gifts. Think about all those expired or unused items we have.
Oh, like those old toiletries under the bathroom sink.
Yes.
Or like that science experiment in the back of the fridge.
Exactly. Expired medications, old makeup food that's past its prime.
Right.
They're literally taking up space, but they don't really serve a purpose anymore.
Right.
And holding on to them can feel like clinging to the past.
Okay, so what's the deeper meaning here? Are we saying like tossing out old lotion is a pathway to enlightenment?
Well, maybe not enlightenment, but it's definitely symbolic of like making space for fresh possibilities.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about trusting that like when we truly need something, it'll be there.
I like that. Letting go of that fear of scarcity.
Yes.
And embracing abundance.
Exactly.
Okay, this category feels a little bit heavy to me. Objects that carry negative memories.
Yeah.
It makes sense that like our homes shouldn't feel like museums of pain.
Right.
But how do we even begin to let go of those things?
It's definitely challenging, but I think it starts with honesty. Ask yourself, does this object bring me any joy, or is it just a constant reminder of something difficult?
And sometimes those objects represent people we've lost.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like letting go of the object is like losing them all over again.
I understand that feeling, but remember, letting go of an object doesn't diminish the memory of the person.
Right.
It's about creating a space that honors your healing process and allows you to move forward.
Okay, so it's not about like erasing the past.
Right.
It's about surrounding ourselves with what supports us now.
Exactly.
Okay, and this next one is something I know a lot of people struggle with, myself included.
Okay.
Excess paper.
Oh, yeah.
And unfinished projects.
That feeling of being buried under a mountain of paperwork, unpaid bills, old notes, random receipts. It's like this physical clutter that manifests into mental stress.
Totally. And then there are those projects. We started with such enthusiasm, but just never finished.
Oh, yeah. I have a whole shelf dedicated to those.
Me too. So how do we break free from this cycle of paper piles and unfinished dreams?
I think first you have to get real with yourself.
Okay.
If the project is truly meaningful, then commit to finishing it.
Yeah.
If not, let it go.
Okay.
For paperwork, a simple system can work wonders. If it's important, file it.
Yeah.
If it's not, toss it.
It's amazing how freeing it feels just to shred a stack of old papers.
I know, it's like this physical release.
Yes.
Yeah, and all of this, from the clothes to the clutter, ties back to the article's main point,
Okay.
Decluttering isn't just about getting rid of stuff.
Right.
It's about creating space in our homes, our minds, our lives.
It's about aligning our physical environment with our inner goals and aspirations.
Exactly.
So where does someone even begin with all of this? Because it can feel overwhelming.
I know the article actually offers a really practical challenge.
Like,
pick one thing, just one,
okay,
and let it go. It could be anything, like a piece of clothing, an expired item, a broken knick-knack. Just experience that feeling of lightness and let it motivate you to keep going.
So it's about building momentum.
Exactly.
Once you see how good it feels to let go even of something small, it becomes easier to tackle the bigger things.
Absolutely. And remember, this isn't a one-time event,
Yeah.
It's an ongoing process. It's about being mindful about what we bring into our lives and what we choose to keep.
Right, and it doesn't have to be a solitary endeavor.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you invite a friend to join you.
That's a great idea.
In a decluttering challenge, or you share your successes with each other.
I love that. Having that support can make any challenge more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And celebrating those wins together can be really motivating.
Absolutely. So as we kind of wrap up this section of the deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a question to ponder.
Okay.
What's one area of your life, your home, your work, even your relationships, that just feels cluttered?
And more importantly, what's one small step you can take today to create a little more space, a little more breathing room?
Yeah.
Remember, even the smallest act of letting go can have this ripple effect, leading to a more peaceful and fulfilling life.
It's really interesting how this whole deep dive on decluttering has gone so far beyond just our physical spaces.
Oh, yeah.
We've been talking about, mental clutter, emotional baggage, even like those unfinished projects that we just keep thinking about.
It's like they're taking up space in our minds too.
Exactly.
And what I find so fascinating is how the article really encourages us to view our homes as more than just these places where we eat and sleep.
Right.
They become these reflections of our inner selves, our values, our aspirations.
So it's almost like we're consciously curating our environment.
Yeah.
And in doing so, we're actually shaping our mindset.
Exactly.
And creating a space that really supports the life we want to live.
It's about making your space work for you.
Exactly. And it's not about striving for some perfect ideal of minimalism or anything.
Not at all.
Right.
It's about creating a space that feels authentically you.
Yeah.
And that reflects your own unique journey.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one key takeaway you think our listener can apply to their own life today?
We've covered so much, it can be overwhelming.
It can be.
But I think the most important thing is just remembering the power of small steps.
Yeah.
Don't try to declutter your whole house this weekend.
Right.
Just start with something manageable, like clearing off your nightstand.
Right.
Or tackling one drawer in your kitchen.
It's about building momentum.
It is.
Yeah, right.
Once you experience that feeling of lightness, that clarity that comes from letting go.
Oh, yeah.
Even of something small, it can really inspire you to keep going.
Totally.
Yeah.
So decluttering is not a one-time event.
It's a journey.
It's a journey.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about being mindful about what we bring in, what we choose to keep.
It's about creating a space that really supports our well-being and reflects those most authentic parts of ourselves.
Love it. So as we close out, I want to leave our listener with a little challenge.
Okay, I like it.
Think about one item in your home that you've been holding on to.
Okay.
Maybe out of guilt obligation or even just inertia.
Yeah.
It could be that sweater, you never wear the gadget.
Yeah.
You never use that stack of papers you keep needing to sort through.
We all have them.
I want you to do something kind of radical.
Okay.
Let it go.
Donate it, give it away, recycle it, whatever feels right.
Yes, and then just notice how you feel.
Yeah.
Lighter, more energized, more free.
I love it.
We'd love to hear about your experience. Share your decluttering journey with us on social media.
Absolutely.
And just remember, the space you create in your physical world can really open up space in your mind and your heart as well.
That's beautiful.
Until next time, happy decluttering.